Hey guys, it's Drew with the Travel Nurses Guide. A few months ago, I posted this chart on the page or the group. I think a few people probably looked at it, and once they saw it, it was very overwhelming. So I'm creating this video today to show you that this chart is not that overwhelming once you know how to use it and what it tells you. And I think it will benefit a lot of nurses who have a staff job and are considering traveling. I hope this chart here, once I explain it all and show you how to use it, that it will answer your question, is travel nursing worth it? Will I make enough money as a travel nurse to quit my staff job? I think this chart does a pretty good job of breaking down each nurse's job comparisons, and I'm going to get into that here shortly. To start with, I'm going to show you how to access this from the Facebook, if you will. All you have to do is go to the group, click Files, and then under Files, it is the first file here. You can just click Download, and it will download the file. I have already downloaded it to save a little time, so I'm just going to pull it back up here. Once again, we're back at the chart. So the chart, like I said, is not as overwhelming as it looks. I put some instructions here at the top. It says fill in the rows with the red text. As you can tell, here's the rows with the red text. There's 3 here, another one here. When we scroll down to the bottom, there's a few more red rows. So also it says fill in as much as you can. Obviously you don't want to leave blanks. Some of them will definitely affect the end results more than others. It says estimate if you are unsure. If you do not know an estimate, put 0. I would really recommend you find as accurate of a value as possible though. The next tip is if you're unsure of your tax rate, which this row here recommends or asks you to put in your tax rate, I suggest using 20% as your tax rate if unsure. This will vary from person to person depending on their tax bracket and which state they are a resident of. But for the most part, 20% is a good average. The next big thing is to notice that the second column here, I've titled it the staff job. You can only put in staff job information here in this column. The next 3 columns are travel contract columns. As you can tell, I've labeled them travel contract number 1, 2, and 3. You can compare up to 3 travel contracts at one time with this. However, if you put a staff job, pay and info in these columns, the numbers will not be the same. The formulas I used were a little different because of the way taxes are calculated in a travel contract. So that said, I'm going to get started. Here I went ahead and labeled the job description just to save a little time. My staff job was in Macon, Georgia. It was my first and only staff job. Nashville was my first travel contract, and then I threw in a couple more contracts here that I've done over the past 2 to 3 years. To start with, I'm going to put in my staff job pay. When I left, I was making $22.84 an hour. There was no stipends, which is what it asked for here, but since it was a staff job, there was no tax-free stipends. Hours per week was 36, meaning my gross week pay, this means before taxes, and when I worked 36 hours, my gross pay was $822.24. You cannot forget the tax on that amount, which I'm going to put 20% because that is around about what my not 2,000%. Alright guys, let's see here. I was not doing this earlier. I don't know why it was doing that. If you ever want to change a percent to a decimal, just move the decimal 2 spots to the left. So that's what I did. I did 0.20 to get 20%. My retirement contribution was 10%. And the dollar amount of that contribution, which 10% of $822.24 is $82.22, which is here. So with all that information there, you come to your weekly paycheck amount or your net pay, and that came to $592.01. Unfortunately, guys, that was my weekly pay as a staff nurse. So also, you know now why traveling seems so beneficial to me. As a staff nurse, I made less than $600 a week after taxes and my retirement contribution of $82.22 here. However, as a staff nurse, oftentimes hospitals offer you benefits, and these benefits are usually more affordable than they are when you're a travel nurse. So we have to consider the benefits the hospital offers and the compensation from those. One of the benefits is retirement matching. At my staff job, I was matched 3%, which come to equal $24.67 each week. And then they also offered PTO. I don't remember exactly how much PTO. I want to say it was around 3 hours per paycheck, which was every 2 weeks. So that means it was 1.5 hours per week. Once you calculate out 1.5 hours times my base hourly rate, which was $22.84, that PTO value was $27.41. So these numbers here, the $24.67 and the $27.81, can be added into my total gross compensation per week, $874.32. That is a pre-tax amount. Basically, the cost of me as a nurse plus my benefits was $874.32, and I got that by adding the $27.41, the $24.67, the $592, and my retirement contribution of $82.22. Like I said, comes out to be $874.32, and again, that is pre-taxes. I've already kind of calculated a total weekly paycheck amount here, but again, put it down here for the total net compensation. Basically, this is the total gross with the taxes taken out. So basically, the total compensation, I did not say pay per week because you weren't really paid the PTO that week. You weren't paid the retirement matching, but it was a compensation that is worth something. So the total compensation per week after taxes is around $726.31. I took it one step further and I broke it down into an hourly amount instead of a weekly amount. Basically, the chart here went ahead and programmed since I put in 36 hours up here. What it did is the chart here divided $726.31 by 36 and got $21.18 per hour. So basically that is the dollar amount I was compensated per hour of work after taxes. As you notice, there's a second portion to this chart here. It's called additional expenses. It's going to come more into effect with the next three columns. To be a travel nurse, there's a couple big expenses. That is health insurance and the cost of your second residence per month. Health insurance, when I was a staff nurse, I paid $35 a week for that insurance. It was good insurance. It was through the hospital, so it wasn't a huge cost. The second cost does not apply as a staff nurse because you do not have to maintain a tax home, meaning you do not have to duplicate expenses, meaning you don't have to pay for a second residence. So what this second portion does is it starts with the $726.31, which you see this here, it subtracts the additional cost, which as a staff nurse is only $35 for me. So it subtracted the $35, and we have a total of $691.31. And again, I took it one step further and I broke it down into an hourly amount again. I did the $691.31 divided by 36 hours. So yes, up here I was compensated $20.18, but once you subtract the cost of the health insurance, it came down to $19.20. So this basically means that once you consider all of my pay and compensation minus the cost related to nursing, I was left with $19.20 per hour. All right. So next we can go to a travel contract. My first contract, like I said, I was not an expert by no means. It was a huge learning curve after my first contract. My first contract, I made $15 an hour, which I do not recommend accepting that. Really anywhere, most places, I would say you're okay. And I feel comfortable accepting $18 an hour unless it's in like a super high cost of living location. That's kind of unrelated to the chart here today. During this first contract, I received $900 of tax-free stipends each week. I worked 36 hours, which came to my total gross being $1,440 per week. So that is the total gross amount. The tax rate is 20%. My retirement contribution was 0, which means that the dollar amount is 0. And then my net weekly bring home, which is also my paycheck amount after taxes, was $1,332, which is very close to what my paychecks were each week. With travel nursing, that contract, I did not have a retirement matching, which is why I did not contribute. I contributed in other places. I also did not acquire PTO, so there was no benefits here. So the total gross per week is $1,440, is the exact same. Here's the total gross compensation because there was no benefits given, or I wasn't compensated with benefits during this contract. Same with the net weekly, it did not change because there was no benefits offered. So, like I said, I made $1,332 per week on this contract. The difference per week, I should probably say versus staff pay here. What it does is it compares this number here to what you made as a staff nurse. It has done the math for me, and the amount is $605. And once again, I broke down the $1,332 and I divided it by the amount of hours to get $37 per hour. I was compensated $37 per hour after taxes. And really and truly, since there was no benefits, I can say I was paid $37 per hour when I was in Nashville. Now we can go down to the additional expenses, because with travel nursing, you do have the two largest extra expenses. It's the weekly cost of health insurance. When I was in Nashville, I actually was lucky enough to be able to stay on my parents' income because I was not too old to be on their insurance, and their insurance cost was the exact same with me or without me. So I convinced them to let me stay on their insurance. So I put 0 in there. The cost of my second residence was $800 per month. So what this second chart does is it takes this number here, which is your total net compensation per week, and then it subtracts out these two costs. The health insurance was $0, and the my monthly rent was $800. So then it basically will tell you that you will save, or meaning what is left over after these two expenses is $1,147.24. That is a difference of $455.93 compared to the estimated savings from your staff job. And once you divide this number here by the number of hours, you're given $31.87. So that's a pretty big difference there. That's actually being able to bring home an additional, I don't know, $12. Is that what that is? 12, maybe close to $13 more per hour. And that's after tax dollars there. So that's actually $13 more that went into my bank account. The next two contracts, they're going to be pretty much the same exact way as the Nashville one. You're going to plug in all that information. I'm going to plug in this info quickly. I made $20 an hour in Panama City, which I'll also start out by saying that Panama City has been my highest paying contract. But I'm going to show you some things at the end that the highest paying contract is not always the best contract. My total stipend was $13.50. I worked 36 hours per week. The total gross for this contract was $2,070, which is pretty good for an ER contract. Again, we're going to use 20%. My retirement contribution was $0. So therefore I got $0, or the 0% equals $0. The net weekly paycheck amount was $1,926, which is pretty close to what I brought home every week. Again, guys, I haven't programmed these. Like, I've programmed it for it to do the equations for you. You can type in your information. It will be pretty close to what your weekly paycheck amount is, as long as you use this column for your staff job and these three columns here for your travel contracts. In Panama City, I did not have any retirement matching, no PTO, so there was basically no benefits. So again, these numbers here stay the same. The net weekly paycheck amount plus the total net compensation, these numbers are the same because there was no benefits. Same with the total gross pay and the total gross compensation. There's again $2,070 here. So here the difference from the total net compensation per week compared to my staff job over here is a large amount. It's almost $1,200. That seems very nice. And once you divide $1,926 divided by $53.50, once you divide this number here by 36 hours, my total net compensation was $53.50, which is more than double. Obviously, it's over 150% more. So, but with Panama City, I did have to start paying for my own private health insurance, which cost me $220 per month. And the big bummer with Panama City is that their housing was almost impossible to find and nothing was affordable. I was paying $2,800 a month for rent in Panama City. So again, what it did is it took the total compensation per week, this number here, and brought it down here. And then it subtracted the cost of health insurance and my cost of rent. And now I'm left with the estimated savings per week. As you can tell, I'm lower than what I made in Nashville. Nashville has been my lowest paid contract as a travel nurse. But since rent was so expensive, it really cut into my savings. So that difference is $668.04 when compared to my staff job pay. And again, once you divide $1,059.35 by the number of hours, which is 36, you get $29.43. So yes, I was still bringing home or being compensated over $10 more than I was as a staff nurse. But as my lowest paid travel contract, I was actually making more than $2 less. So here I'm going to add Macon, because Macon was one of my better travel contracts as far as pay and cost of living. Also notice how fast I am throwing these numbers in. Once you understand how to add these numbers, you can really fill this stuff out quick and compare your staff job and 3 contracts very quickly. My retirement matching, or my retirement actually was did contribute to retirement a little here during this contract. The matching was very small, but it was something. PTO hours accumulated per week was 0. So again, my paycheck was usually around $1,655 per week. You know what? This is going to I'm going to say I did not contribute to my retirement, just to show you, because I wanted to prove the point that the highest paying contract does not always isn't always the best. So I'm going to make the Panama City contract and the Macon contract be very similar, but to show you the difference, how much more I made in Macon. So again, 20% tax rate, no retirement contributions, which equals 0. My paycheck, if I would have not actually contributed to my retirement account, would have been $1,733. There was no retirement matching and no PTO accrued. So if you look at the difference here, it looks to be $1,733 versus $1,926. That's almost a $200 difference, which it shows that here as well. And then when you break it down to an hourly, it's almost a $5 is more than a $5 difference. However, when you go to consider the additional cost, again, I was still paying $220 a month for health insurance. We found a really great housing deal. I was paying $475 per month for rent, and I was able to make $712 more than I was as a staff nurse. And again, once you break down the 1403, which is the estimated weekly savings, into an hourly amount, it is $38.99. So you are looking at almost $10 more per hour that I was able to save in Macon versus Panama City. So I hope this chart helps. If you have any questions, comment, let me know. I think this will really benefit a lot of people who are concerned or scared that travel nursing might not be worth it to quit their staff job. So, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.